todos, a todos. Thank you so much. Welcome. Thank you so much for this opportunity to come and speak today. And I'm not going to speak too much. I like the idea of putting these things into practical application as much as possible. And as many of you know, I'm a big fan of meditation practice. So I'm going to incorporate that in a couple of different ways here. But with the conversation that Tana and Bill were just having, I would actually love the opportunity to take us all through the 4 reflections, which is something that I learned from the Lama at the first silent meditation retreat that we were at over a year ago now. And it's something that I start every day with. And it's, again, in line with what Tana and Bill were talking about just now. So, with that, the first of the 4 reflections is to reflect on this precious human life. And understanding that as human beings, as sentient beings, we are this unique, beautiful, magical expression of the universe that has the ability to reflect back on itself. We are an expression of the universe, of universal energy, of all that is. We are an expression of that energy that has the consciousness, that has the ability and awareness to be able to reflect in on itself and everything around us. We are at the peak of karmic Everest. You know, we did something right. We did many things right in past lives to be here, and to start our day to reflect on the fact that even if we're having a hard day, a hard time, we don't think we're doing so well in life, we're still here. What a gift. Yeah. The second reflection is on impermanence. And impermanence can be a really intimidating, can be a scary thing for people. It can be fearful, overwhelming. But the practice of looking at impermanence as something to embrace, as something to admire, appreciate, and understanding that that is the reality. This entire room is in a constant state of change. Our bodies, the earth around us, the structures here, the air. On a quantum level, everything is constantly moving, constantly in a state of change, and that's a beautiful thing. You know, the Lama will reflect on things that are beautiful that happen by saying maravilloso. You know, and if something comes through that's really challenging and didn't go the way you had hoped that it would go, maravilloso. Because everything is in a constant state of change, and that's beautiful. You know, and when we embrace that as a beautiful part of our reality, it helps our shoulders drop a little bit. We have ease with things that come our way. We don't get attached, you know, attachment being a root cause of suffering. We don't get attached to the negative things that come into our lives. We don't get attached to the positive things, you know, that could then threaten to make us sad when they're gone. You know, like he talks about looking at beautiful things like a rainbow. We know that a rainbow is not going to be here forever, but we still love it and appreciate it when it's here. We find joy in it in that moment, but we don't attach to it. We don't grasp onto it because that would cause suffering. We know it's going to go away. Nobody says, "Oh my God, that rainbow is only here for 20 minutes and now I'm upset." You know, that would be silly, right? Or maybe some of us. And so really connecting with the idea of permanence is a really beautiful thing, you know, is a gift, and it's another great way to start the day. The third thing is karmic cause and effect. It's understanding that all of our actions and behaviors and thoughts are seeds, right? And especially in this very powerful time right now with the full moon last night in the 4th month. It's a very significant time in Buddhist tradition. It's the month that Buddha was born. It's the month that Buddha achieved enlightenment. So thank you for sharing that information, Pam, yesterday. And it is believed in the Buddhist tradition that any of the karmic seeds that we plant, either positive or negative, are going to be multiplied and are going to bear fruits exponentially more than what it would during a normal time. So waking up in the morning and understanding that all of our behaviors, our actions, our thoughts, our intentions are all seeds, especially in this powerful time, let's think of all the seeds that we can plant that are going to bear the fruit that we want. So that's the third of the four reflections. And then the fourth reflection being the three defects of samsara, the root causes of suffering. And those three being represented by the pig, the snake, and the pigeon. The pig being confusion, the snake being anger, and the pigeon being attachment or grasping. And with confusion, I'm sure we can all understand how being in a state of confusion can cause suffering if we don't have a full understanding of something, if we think it means something but it actually means something else. There's cause for cognitive dissonance in that can cause suffering. So when I go through these reflections in the morning, I actively think, okay, is there anything that I'm actively unaware about, or I'm being willfully ignorant around, or I'm confused around? And if there is, I try to sort through that and I say, okay, that's going to be part of my work for the day, is to alleviate that suffering by bringing the antidote to that, which is information and awareness. So I'm going to shine a light on the thing that I'm confused about, or that I'm unaware of, so that I can eliminate or mitigate the suffering that could potentially cause or is causing. The second one, anger. We've heard this here a million times. Anger, or holding on to anger, is like taking poison and expecting somebody else to suffer or die from it. We know that's not going to happen. Holding on to anger doesn't serve us ever in any way. And so to start the day by thinking, is there any one, myself, a situation that I may be harboring anger or resentment around, and how do I release that, and how do I let that go so that I can be better? Because when I'm better, we're all better, right? The third defect of samsara being attachment and grasping. And this one, I think, for today's talk on non-striving, is probably the most significant and ties in the most. Attachment is an expectation. Attachment is usually, more often than not, it's attachment to something outside of ourselves. It's attachment to something that we have no control over. The only things we ever have control over are our own thoughts and behaviors, our own state of being. And that is something that nobody else has control over, but we have full control over. And when we attach to something that's outside of what we have within control, we open ourselves up to disappointment, right? It could go better than what we expect, and that's amazing, maravilloso. But if it goes poorly, and we're attached to a specific outcome, and we don't get that outcome, it's a root cause of suffering. It's a very deep cause of suffering that we are in control of. We don't have to allow that into our lives. So the antidote to grasping and attachment is non-striving, is letting go, is, Ruthie, in her benediction, she talks about bowing to the mysteries, and I sat with her last week, or maybe the week before, and talked about that, and I said, I think it's not just bowing to the mysteries. I think you really have to surrender to the mysteries. You have to just, dropping all of my expectation, I'm dropping all of my attachment to anything. I'm going to put in joyful effort. I'm going to do everything I can with my ability to do the right thing, to behave in the right way, to get a good result. And as soon as I've done everything I can and it's out of my control, I surrender. Whatever happens, maravilloso. So those are the four reflections. I think they're beautiful. It's how I start my day, usually before I even get out of bed. Puts a smile on my face, brings me to ease, and I hope that helps as well. So today, we've been going through the 7 principles of mindfulness from Kabat-Zinn. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. And today we're going to be talking about non-striving, which I'm really excited about because, as you all know, I'm a big fan of meditation, and I feel like meditation is a beautiful practice to support non-striving. So I'm going to take us through an initial meditation just to get us into this space, get us into a state of mindfulness. Then we'll talk a little bit about the 7 principles at a glance, dig into non-striving, and then I want to take you through a sound bowl meditation to bring this into practical application. Okay. So I invite everyone to find a comfortable position. Whichever position works for you is wonderful. If you want to sit with your legs crossed, your knees up, your hands on your knees, face down. If you want to sit with your posture, with your right hand palm up in your left hand, with your thumbs touching in your lap, all things are beautiful. The most important thing is if you can find a way to have your back as straight as is comfortable, in alignment with your neck and your crown chakra. That allows for a beautiful, clear channel for information to flow and for us to connect with each other and all that is here. So to start, I'll invite us all to gently close our eyes, and if that feels comfortable, and following the chimes, I'll chime 3 times. We take 3 deep breaths in through our nose, into our belly, really expanding our belly, deep breaths, holding at the top if comfortable, and releasing through the mouth. Just 3 times, starting now. To start, I invite us all just to become aware of your breath without judgment, without a need to change anything at all. If anything, just with gratitude. Gratitude for this beautiful, magical, life-giving force that supports us, that supports this beautiful human life without asking, without effort. It just is. Connect with awareness, the natural state of your breathing as it is right now. Gently inviting us all to take one small step towards mastery of our breath and our minds by first transitioning to deep belly breaths in and deep belly breaths all the way out. And as we breathe in, we say to ourselves, I am breathing in a deep breath. And as we exhale, we say, I am breathing out a deep breath. I invite us now, when ready, to gently transition from taking deep in-breaths and deep out-breaths to short, shallow in-breaths and short out-breaths. And as you breathe in, saying to yourself, I am breathing in a short breath. And as you exhale, saying to yourself, I am breathing out a short breath. And now I invite you, in your own timing, to gently transition to full body breaths, understanding that every cell in our body is constantly taking in and releasing air. And I invite us all to feel, with each in-breath, every cell in our bodies receiving life-giving air. And with each out-breath, our body is exhaling through every cell. almost like a slow, gentle pulse. Each in-breath and each out-breath. Allowing the space between our cells, atoms in our body to grow and space out, radiating out into the energetic frequency of all that is and everything around us, and allowing the illusion of separation to gently fall away as we become more aware of the reality, complete interconnectedness of everything. And at this time, I invite you to picture yourself at the top of your crown chakra. Picture this energy there, a warmth, a loving, compassionate energy that holds us, moves slowly, and cascades like a gentle honey down our heads, relaxing our muscles, inviting any tension to release, cascading down the back of our eyes, our ears, down our neck and shoulders, very slowly and lovingly, inviting every muscle to release tension, down our arms, to our wrists and hands, and our legs, and surrendering to a complete state of relaxation, knowing that the earth below us is strong and has everything we need to support us. And I invite you just to be in this state for a moment. In a moment, I'll invite us all to gently take 3 deep breaths together, in through the nose, into your belly, out through your mouth, as we gently come back into our bodies and into the space with each chime. sway your bodies, wiggle your fingers and toes. If anything's gone numb, like my left leg always does. You're right, it's always my left. How's everybody feeling?
Good.
Good? Okay, so we've been talking about the 7 principles of mindfulness. How beautiful. I love this stuff because it's all very practical. It's like the roadmap. It's not the ethereal, academic side of Buddhism, which I'm super impressed by and intimidated and overwhelmed by. But these types of things are so practical. It's a really easy roadmap to follow for those of us like myself who, I want to get into the state. I want to be able to practice. I want to be doing the thing. And today we're gonna talk a little bit more about how to not be doing, which is beautiful. So I just want to sort of set the stage for non-striving. I just want to give a brief overview of the 7 different principles, some of which we've already gone over. So just to set the stage for that. Non-judging. When we first started that meditation, and it's something I do for myself all the time, if I'm leading meditation or if I'm just in a solo practice, is bringing awareness to my breath without judgment. I don't think it's helpful for any of us to get caught in this idea of, am I doing something right? Let's just be. Whatever your body is doing is a gift. If you're breathing deep breaths in that moment, probably need it. And that's okay, and that's beautiful. So when we can launch into a meditation, just focusing on our breath without judgment, focusing on not having judgment around anything. We might be stiff, we might be sore, we might get lost in our thoughts around, oh, I shouldn't have eaten that thing last night, oh, I should drink less, oh, I exercised too hard the other day. That's great. There will be a time for thinking at some point, but when we're working on our mindfulness practice, this is not the place for that. This is a place for us to be accepting of all that is inside of us, and to go internally and be aware of that and learn from the wisdom in our bodies and ourself, which comes up as well. And in order to be able to do that, we need the second principle, which is patience. Patience is a virtue. I'm sure many of you have heard me talk about, for the longest time I believed in right and wrong. There's a right, there's a wrong, there's a black and white to all these things. And through a lot of these practices and teachings, I finally came to the conclusion that what I really covet, what I think is beautiful and I value, is skillful virtuousness. It doesn't bother me if somebody is right or wrong, but if they are working to navigate through a situation with skillful virtuousness, I can't help but just feel gratitude for that person's journey and the effort that they're putting into something. And patience is one of those virtues, right? So being mindful that if you're just starting to get into these practices, it might not be the best idea to sit down for an hour the first time. You might hate it. You might really not like it and never want to do it again. It's like going to the gym. It's like, all right, I haven't been to the gym in 10 years. I'm going to go and I'm going to do a 2-hour workout. I'm not walking the next day. This is going to be a problem for me, and I might not want to do that again. So the goal here is to be kind, loving, compassionate with ourselves, and to be patient with the process. This is something that we find value in supporting us when we can be consistent with this practice. So being patient not only in the moment during your mindfulness practice, but also being patient long term with, I might want to start with a 2-minute meditation. I might want to just be more mindful when I do the dishes today. That might be my start. Being patient with yourself, that it might take a few years to build up, what you see as, a supporting mindfulness routine. Beginner's mind is such a beautiful thing. If any of us have children in our lives, what a blessing. I look at my kids now, I look at other people's children, and I think, man, you guys had it all figured out. I feel like over time, there's so many filters and so much, there's so many traumas and experiences and things that happen to us that have these filters and biases and all these things that shape how we see the world in a very, the world becomes very narrow as we get older. And kids don't have any of that. Like, I don't care. I'm pure human. And I really feel like we have the ability to tap into that beautiful beginner's mind. And if we have children in our life, just observe them and be like, "You got it, kid. I'm gonna do more of this." I was at a shamanic retreat a couple of months ago, and I did this really beautiful breathwork experience. And in the end, I was laying down and I felt this little hand in the palm of my left hand. It was real. I was laying there with my closed eyes, and I felt this palm. I grabbed onto this young child's hand, and it was my 10-year-old son. And he was saying to me in this experience, in this vision, "Watch me. Follow this. I got the answer." And I was like, wow, you're right. And then I felt a presence next to him, and it was me as a 10-year-old child, standing next to my 10-year-old son. And they were like, "Trust us. This is how you do human." And I was like, you're right. So being able to tap into beginner's mind is such a gift. We get to brush away the ego. We get to exist in this state of learning something new about something maybe we thought we knew. Trust. So I feel like trust in this context, in the 7 principles of mindfulness, is a little bit different. Because what we're really doing is we're bringing awareness to. So we're trusting, but we're bringing awareness to the wisdom that exists within us. So as we develop our mindfulness practice, what's going to happen is all of these outside stimuli, outside noise that distorts the truth, that distorts all of this wisdom that we have access to, all of it calms down and drifts away. And what starts to happen is our internal spiritual bodies, emotional bodies, physical bodies start to talk to us, and we can actually hear it. So when you start to get into that deep state of mindfulness where you're able to finally hear what your body, your emotional body, your spiritual body is saying to you, at first you're going to think, what does that even mean? That doesn't make sense. Like, I don't understand. Look for the understanding in it. It's real. We have microscopic strands of DNA that have enough information in it to build a human body and say the eyes go here, make them blue, the hair goes here, the nose is here, it functions this way. We have tiny microscopic strands of DNA that do all of this, and yet somehow we have a hard time connecting with the idea that there's wisdom in that too, that there's knowing. It's all so much more infinitely complex than we can wrap our intellectual minds around. So this is where we surrender and trust. Trust what's coming up, connect with it, see where it goes, try things out. Okay, my body's telling me this, I wonder why. Let's be curious, let's be childlike in our curiosity. And then we come to non-striving. We call ourselves human beings. Most of us aren't. The vast majority of people across the board, the vast majority of sentient beings across the board are human doings. Constantly. We are constantly, I would go as far as to call it an affliction. You know, we are these hyper-intellectual beings, doings, that have this gift of a mind. And we've heard this a million times, our mind is not self. Our mind is not who we are. Our mind, just like the heart, just like our pinky finger, is a part of us. It's not who we are. But our pinky finger isn't driving us crazy at 2 in the morning thinking about our taxes. You know, our heart isn't driving us crazy overthinking, you know, what I said to that person today. You know, our minds are beautiful, powerful machines, but when left unchecked, when left without the tool of mindfulness, which is really being in no mind, it's interesting the paradox in that. When it's left unchecked, it drives the show, and that's not what we want. We want it to be a part of the sum that makes us who we are, just like our heart. And Lama says all the time, the heart is the home and the head is the office, right? So, in my view, non-striving doesn't mean that we should look to live our lives in a constant state of just being and never doing. If I had a toolbox and I had a hammer and a saw and a screwdriver in it, and I had a nail that needed to go into a board, I'd pick up the hammer and start hammering the nail. And then if I have a screw that needs to go in, I'm not going to walk over with that hammer and hit the screw. And then if I have a piece of wood that needs to be cut, I'm not just going to hit it until it breaks into two. There's a reason why we have all these different tools. And having a mindfulness practice is having a tool, right? So that doesn't mean that we're going to use mindfulness in a state of non-striving in every scenario all the time, all day. We're not going to get anywhere. You know, someone's going to say, hey, did you mow the lawn today? Nope, I'm just being. Okay, well, that lawn is never going to get mowed, you know. But if we don't have those tools, if we don't have the tool of mindfulness, if we don't have the ability to say to ourselves, I am clearing time today to be mindful, I am clearing time today to just be, I'm clearing time to have mastery over my mind, I'm going to practice, I'm going to lift weights, I'm going to exercise this muscle of having mastery over my mind, where I can wash everything away through this beautiful roadmap of exercises, and I can just be. I'm going to work that muscle, and then one day in the future, when life is overwhelming, and it's 2 in the morning, and I spring awake thinking about my taxes, or you know what I said to that person, I now have the hammer to put the nail in the thing and go, I need sleep tonight. I know how to be mindful. I know how to get myself to a state of being, so my mind can be at rest. It's not driving me, it's not owning me, it's not telling me how to live my life, it's not robbing me of nurturing sleep that I need right now. So that to me is what non-striving is. It's a tool. It's a tool in the kit of mindfulness to be able to gain further depth and mastery over our minds. The only other thing that I would say before going into a practical application exercise of non-striving, of just being in a state of being, is just how important it is to be able to distinguish the difference, the separation between self and mind. hard. We grow up thinking constantly. This is who I am. These are my thoughts. Did you have something? Oh, mosquitoes. Okay, cool. So I think that's just a very easy foundational thing to have in mind, to understand that we are not our mind. We are the sum of many parts of who we are. Our mind is a tool. Mindfulness and having mastery over calming the mind is a lot of why we're here. And just to touch very briefly on the other two principles of mindfulness is acceptance. Acceptance to me ties into surrender. Surrender and trust. Many of you have probably heard me talk about the Schumann resonance of Earth. Every object has a resonant frequency. These bowls have a resonant frequency. Our bodies have a resonant frequency. The Earth has a resonant frequency, and all of us and everything in it is derivative of the resonant frequency of Earth. And I think it's important to surrender to that. To trust that. We had a full moon ceremony last night, and we were looking up at the moon afterwards. And I said, that's our moon. And we are the moon's people. I am no less a part of that moon than I am my left arm. Everything is hyper-connected and interconnected with everything else, and interdependent on everything else. And when we don't accept things, when we don't live in a state of surrender to what is, we are constricted. We're constricted. It's an electric energy that goes against the flow of resonant energy, of resonant frequency of Earth, of all that is around us, and it creates problems. So allowing yourself to be in a state of acceptance, to trust and surrender to all that is, find the, you've probably heard me say, why is this happening for me? Not why is this happening to me? It's such a blessing. Because if you say to yourself, why is this happening to me? You're right. And that's how you're going to move forward. And it's going to be tough. If you say to yourself, why is this happening for me? You're right. And there's going to be a blessing in whatever it is that's going on, however challenging. There's going to be something in there for you. And then the last one is letting go, which is very similar to acceptance. However, there is a differentiation, and I got to experience this firsthand at the most recent Vipassana retreat with Lama, because we were going through the 16 steps of Vipassana, and I think we hit step 6, and I had a very intense full-body hallucinogenic experience. It was beautiful, and I'd only ever experienced that with plant medicines before, specifically 5-MeO-DMT, and now, oh my God, I'm able to do this by focusing on my breath and meditation. I'm able to do this same thing, go to the same place, and it's like, that's it. I did it. I don't need the next 10 steps. I got it on step 6. I'm ahead of the game. How amazing. And I just had this epiphany. I was like, wow, this is so incredible. I figured it out. Like Lama led me through this path. I got the thing. This is what I've been searching for. How amazing. And I asked him the question. I said, hey, because I'm all excited. I can't wait for him to say, yeah, you did it. And I was like, this is the experience I had, and this is the detail, and I've only ever experienced this way before with plant medicine, and like, what do you think? And very simply, very beautifully, with the Lama smile that we all love, he said, oh, that's just an experience. Don't get attached to the experience. Yes, Lama. okay, I thought I just cracked the universe open, and I now have, not to say that I had full control over it, but I'm like, I've done it without an external resource. I've used my body. I've gotten to this place. I've gotten to this experience that I think is the thing. He's like, that's not the thing. But it's okay. Don't attach to the thing. Like, you're right. And so I think letting go, in my experience, is understanding that we're not striving for a goal here. We're being. There are things that are going to happen along that journey that are going to be phenomena, that are going to be incredible experiences and sensations and maybe visions and all these things that happen, and amazing. That's great. We are an expression of the universe that's able to reflect on itself, that is currently having an experience. If I'm in pain, I am not pain. I am experiencing pain. If I'm angry, I'm not anger. I'm experiencing anger. If I'm happy, I'm not happiness. I'm experiencing happiness. So letting go of experiences that come in, not attaching to them, not grasping, because that is a root cause of suffering. Just brings us right back to potentially losing something that we covet and that we want, and that's a root cause of suffering. So anyhow, I'm going to check time real quick because I feel like I've been talking a lot. Okay, so I'll do, what I want to do is I just want to put this into practical application, and I want to give everybody the opportunity to just be. Okay, so I think a helpful way of doing that is through sound. It gives you something very gentle, very loving and supportive that you can be supported by, that you can focus on your breathing, focus on the sound, and just be. And if at any point you do feel thoughts enter your mind, just picture them as clouds that are just drifting through, and let the cloud just carry the thought, and just, I don't have judgment over it. I'm not angry that I had a thought. I'm not upset. Oh, I keep thinking about this. Okay. Let it flow through again. It's okay. Don't attach. Don't judge. But I would say during this session, just do your best to focus on your breath. Try to welcome everything that is, and allow yourself just to be. Nobody's asking anything of you for this moment. How great. Nobody's asking for anything from you. Just be. So if you want to sit, if you feel like that's comfortable, if you want to lay out, I highly recommend that as well, if there's space to do so. But find a comfortable position wherever you are. And you can gently soften your gaze. You're welcome to close your eyes if that feels comfortable. And this is the stuff. This is the meat. This is why we're here. I invite us all to take 3 deep breaths, starting with each chime, holding at the top for just a moment, and releasing through your mouth. Take a moment to once again just focus on beautiful, life-giving breath that's just coming to you without asking. Just recognize, be aware of your breath without any judgment at all. Maybe just gratitude. Focus on your breath. As we slowly integrate sound into the space. All sounds are welcome. all sounds are part of us as we are a part of it. Continuing in a state of non-judgment with a focus on your beautiful life-giving breath. Just remind yourself invite us all back into the space from that short but hopefully supportive sound experience. Welcome. Trying to keep in our time space. And I would love to open up the floor to give anyone an opportunity for questions, reflection, comments, thoughts, feelings about any of this, anything at all. Floor is open. Let's seeing all these relaxed beings. It's beautiful.
One of the things that you and I have spoken about before, and it came up again in my mind today during this exercise, is understanding the difference between surrender and curiosity. To me, they still seem to be a little bit like this. Because to fully surrender is acceptance in my mind. To fully just accept everything that's happening. But curiosity is to question. Curiosity is to say, what's that? What's that about? What's that about? Which is the opposite to surrender. And I can't wrap my head around that.
Yeah. So is your question, how do curiosity and surrender coexist together? How do they work together? Because they seem to conflict or have a cognitive dissonance in your experience?
I actually think it was more of a statement than a question.
Statement, okay. That's fair.
But I thought it might provoke.
Throwing it out there.
Throwing it out there.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just going to pick it up.
Well, I feel like they're both a part of the process. I feel like surrender without curiosity is irresponsible. I think surrender as navigating surrender with skillful virtuousness requires curiosity. How do we know what we're surrendering to unless we have beginner's mind and we can open ourselves up to curiosity around what this thing is, why it exists, does it mean something to me, is it the right way to go, and all of the things you can be curious about a thing. I think it's vitally important for us to be curious about something and welcome an openness to anything that could be around that thing before we can start to be skillfully discerning and deciding how we're going to move forward with something. And I think the surrender isn't an either or of do I act skillfully, do I put in joyful effort, or do I just surrender to everything? I think we put in, Ruthie and Jeff forever have talked about detached involvement, right? That's a process that involves being involved, putting your all into something, putting a tremendous amount of skillful virtuousness, joyful effort into something. And then once you've done that, you've done all that you can, and the result is out of your control, that's when surrender provides a basis of peace. Nice. Obviously, surrendering to the pause that I needed right there. Obviously, I needed to stop talking for a minute. So, yeah, I think that detached involvement is really a practice of putting in skillful virtuousness and joyful effort and then surrendering to the things that are outside of our control. So in my experience, I feel like they're all a part of the process, and they all sort of exist with each other. And I'm also open to anyone else's interpretation or thoughts around that. Sorry, Ruthie, for the silence. Does anyone else have any thoughts around the how beginner's mind and curiosity coexist with?
Surrender and curiosity. This bread when we apply judgment. Once our curiosity starts, it's hard to remove judgment once you start absorbing whatever we're curious about.
Yeah. I feel like there's definitely some. So what was said is that actually, would you mind just coming closer and saying it a little bit louder? I don't want to paraphrase. And just for Ruthie, I think.
I just think that when we invoke curiosity and judgment becomes part of that, that's what drives that wedge between the surrender part and the curiosity part. But it's like part of our, it's almost part of our nature to judge.
Yeah.
Even the part of surrender. Like, well, do I need to really surrender to the, do I need, right?
Yeah. And I feel like that's a really beautiful point, and I think that there's a really beautiful delineation between judgment and discernment.
Yeah.
Because judgment.
That's the responsibility part.
Yeah. Yeah. The skillful virtuousness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like we do have. You're absolutely right. I mean, Eddie was saying that when we evoke curiosity in ourselves, we almost by default welcome judgment around things as it comes in. And I do feel like that is our natural state as human beings to go through that process. And part of why we're here, part of why we go through these things is because we want to be able to navigate things not as from a place of default, but from a place of a higher elevated skillfulness. And so I think when we work our muscles and we use those tools, we elevate from a state of judgment to a state of discernment. And when we are discerning, that's when we get to the point where we can say, is there, like, discernment to me isn't this is good or this is bad. Judgment is this is good, this is bad. Discernment is this something that I have control over, I should do something with, or is this something I should surrender to? Is this within my control? Is this something that I can decide to improve or benefit? Or is this something that's out of my control that I need to surrender to and just allow? Because grasping onto the idea that I can control that thing is going to cause suffering in me and potentially other people. So to me, I feel like moving away from that's good, that's bad, to is this for me to do something about, or is this for me to surrender and let go to, is the key there for me. Thank you.
Just in this little last bit of chat, I really felt compelled to bring up the serenity prayer of Alcoholics Anonymous, which is grant me the serenity to accept what I cannot change, courage to change what I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And this is that thing, that wisdom thing. What is what I can have any influence over, and what is it that I can just accept? And that wisdom is the discernment and the judgment all wrapped in together with a little bit of maybe experience.
Yeah.
And deciding where to put my efforts.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, and I think wisdom and intention are the bridge between judgment and discernment. Beautiful. Does anybody else have any thoughts or anything that they would like to introduce? You're all so beautiful. I love the Sangha. If nobody has anything else, I would be thrilled to take us through metta. Does that feel like good timing, Sharon? Okay, beautiful. Okay, another meditation. We love it. That's why we're here. I love it. Thank you. Okay. So I'm going to start again just by inviting everyone to take a comfortable seat. Try to keep your spine, your neck, and your crown chakra straight in alignment. I'm going to offer up 3 chimes for 3 deep breaths. Deep belly breaths in through the nose, holding at the top and out through the mouth, all together. And when the first chime goes, now. And I invite us all to think of ourselves, not our minds, not the current state of our bodies, but ourselves, our energy, energetic frequency of who we are. And for you, visually, that might be seeing yourself right now in this moment in the shala. It might be a photograph of yourself that you love. It might be yourself as a child that you want to take a moment and envision and see as yourself. Whatever that is, find the most loving, beautiful, heart-filling version of yourself that you can bring to mind, and to yourself, I invite you to say, "May I be well." And understanding that wellness is something that we have the ability to give ourselves through wellness practices. May we have those wellness practices available to us. May we commit to them. And to yourself, I invite you to say, "May no harm come to me." Understanding that the best way to be safe and free from harm is to understand our boundaries, ourselves, be able to communicate them to others, and be able to hold them up even when it's difficult. And say, "May I live with ease, calm, and peaceful in equanimity." Understanding that we are human beings, we are not the experiences that we go through. And the peaks and the valleys are just experiences. And living in equanimity and in balance with calm and ease is not allowing those peaks and valleys to pull us in either direction, just to stay grounded in the middle way. And lastly, may I be happy. Understanding that happiness is not something that happens to us. It's something that we choose to connect with, and that it's available for us at all times, all around us. And smile at yourself, the vision of yourself, as we move one ring out on the circle of compassion, and envision someone who you love with all your heart. When you think about them, when you picture them, your heart swells. And really feel all the love that you have for this person, this being. To this person, I invite you to say, "May you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm, and peaceful in equanimity. May you be happy." Rejoice in that happiness with them, with compersion. Smile at them, give them a kiss, a hug. As we turn away and move one ring further out on the circle of compassion, and picture someone neutral, someone you may not even know very well. You might not know their name. Maybe you pass them on a morning walk or a drive. Maybe they serve you at a restaurant, at the grocery store. If you don't know their name, you can just refer to them as friend. And to this neutral person, I invite you to say, "May you be well." May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful and equanimity. May you be happy. Smile at them, give them a nod, wave goodbye as we turn, move one ring further out on a circle of compassion, taking a deep belly breath. Bringing to mind someone with whom we are in conflict. They may not like us, we may not like them. For the moment, understanding that everyone, all of our actions and behaviors can come from whatever level of suffering we're dealing with and whatever limited tools we have to deal with that suffering. And at the base, at the root, at the core, all beings are love. And we want to love this person where they're at. We want to have compassion for them. So without any resentment or anger or malice, I invite you to say to this person, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm, and peaceful in equanimity. May you be happy. Because when you are all these things, we are all better. And smile at this new friend, maybe. As we turn out, move one more ring out on the circle of compassion. I invite you to place your hands over your heart, as the heart space is the only place symbolically big enough to hold enough compassion and love for all sentient beings everywhere on this plane, on all other planes, through all time, past, present, and future. And to all sentient beings, I invite you to say, may we all be well. May we all be safe. May we all live with ease, free from any suffering. And may we all be happy. And with a deep breath, feeling all the love and compassion that we have in these beautiful human bodies, I invite you, if you feel safe and only if you feel safe to do so, I invite you to picture any suffering that you may be holding inside of yourself, understanding that the root causes of suffering are confusion, anger, and attachment. Just give yourself a moment to feel if there's any of that exists in you right now, and I offer you, again, if you feel safe to do so, I offer you the opportunity to feel any of that suffering being drawn out of you. Visualize the suffering being drawn out of you like a dark cloud being pulled from your physical body up into the sky. And then I welcome you, if you feel safe to do so, to envision your neighbor right next to you and everyone in the shala, in the sangha, and feeling all of the suffering being drawn out of all of us, and extending that visualization out to Ojo Chao, and out to Costa Baena, and out to the southern zone, and all of Costa Rica. And only if you feel safe to do so, I welcome you to envision all suffering from all beings, all across the world and beyond, being drawn out and up into a maelstrom of dark cloud activity in the sky, just collecting, just being separated from these states of suffering, so we can all exist in peace. And knowing that the heart space has the power to be able to completely transmute all suffering in an instant, if you feel safe to do so, I welcome you to breathe in that dark cloud, knowing that the second it touches your heart space, it will instantly turn white. And with a firm, strong out-breath, dissipating those clouds, showing through to a crystalline, translucent sky, and our connection to the sun, and the spirit of our true human essence, which is just love. And if you feel safe to do that, I invite you to do that now. And just bask in that clarity. Bask in the crystalline, translucent energy, cloudless, without suffering, in our truest state, human being. And I invite you to release your hands and bring them into prayer position over your throat chakra. And I invite you to say to yourself, repeat to yourself, this beautiful benediction that Ruthie has brought to this Sangha. I go in peace. I go making peace, living gently, loving mightily, and bowing and surrendering to the mysteries. The quick dedication, I dedicate this practice to all those who have knowingly, unknowingly, purposefully, unintentionally guided me on this journey. Dedicate this practice to myself so that I experience all happiness and causes of happiness rise up where it has not yet arisen, so I may experience all happiness and causes of happiness increase, multiply, flourish, and never decline where it has already arisen, so that any suffering